In today's video, we're going over whether you should switch from a sole proprietorship to an LLC. Now, if you're a small business owner or you're self-employed, this is probably going to be one of the first questions you have as you're growing your business. So make sure that you watch all the way to the end of the video because you're not going to want to miss any of the information that we have for you today. Now, when you're starting out your business and you don't do anything, it's automatically going to be considered a sole proprietorship. And this is by far the most common form of business in the United States. Now, for some businesses, it makes sense to switch over to an LLC, but for some other businesses, it's not going to make sense. First of all, as a sole proprietorship, this just means that your business is unincorporated. So if you're starting out a new business or a side hustle and you haven't taken any steps to actually incorporate your business, then yes, you're by default considered a sole proprietorship. Think of this as the default starting place for any new business that you've created. And while it's super easy because it's the default, there are some disadvantages for this, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. But the main one being unlimited personal liability. First, let's talk about some of the benefits of actually forming an LLC and whether or not it's going to make sense for you. As the name implies, LLC, aka limited liability company, this allows you to have limited liability in the unfortunate case that you were ever sued. By forming your LLC, you're separating yourself from your company. So if something goes wrong and somebody decides to sue you, they cannot come after your personal assets, they can only come after what is in the business entity or the LLC. And so for right reason, this is an extremely attractive option for a lot of people. With an LLC, if somebody sues you, they can only come after the assets that are within that LLC. So let's say you have an LLC, but you have your own personal house and car. If somebody decides to sue your LLC, they cannot come after your personal house and car. They're only going to be able to come after the stuff that's in your business. Another big advantage of LLCs is that it's going to give you a lot of tax flexibility. When you're filing taxes as a sole proprietor, it's very, very easy. You're basically just filling out the Schedule C or the Schedule C Easy, and those profits are going to go onto your personal tax return. If you're making over $400 in net profits, then you're also going to have to file a Schedule SE for your self-employment taxes. Now, if you're switching over to an LLC, by default, the tax situation is exactly the same as a sole proprietorship, meaning it's passed through, and any net income you're paying the full self-employment tax of 15.3%, as well as your federal tax and any state income tax if you live in a state that has income tax. Now, with an LLC, this actually gives us a huge tax benefit. And to do this, all you have to do is actually elect to tax your LLC as an S Corp. This could help offset your self-employment tax. Let's go through an example here just to make more sense of it. Let's say that you're a sole proprietor and your business or side hustle is making you $100,000 a year. So obviously it's doing pretty well. Unfortunately, because you're self-employed, you're going to have to pay that 15.3% self-employment tax on your net profit of $100,000 plus your federal tax and your state income tax. That's going to take out a huge chunk of your earnings. Now, if you switch over to an LLC, but just tax your LLC by default, your taxes are going to be the exact same. So on that $100,000 of net profit, you're also going to have to pay that 15.3% self-employment tax, as well as your federal taxes and state income taxes. So there's literally no difference there. You're paying the same amount of taxes whether you have a sole proprietorship or an LLC. Now, here's the catch. The great thing about an LLC is that you can elect to have your LLC taxed as an S Corp. We do this by filing Form 2553, and you can actually do this or you can have your accountant do it for you. And it really makes a lot of sense if you're making over $40,000 or $50,000 in net profit. So you guys might be asking, why would I do this? Let's go over why right now. So when you're being taxed as an S Corp for your LLC, you can actually legally avoid a lot of self-employment tax. So going back to that example, let's say you switched your sole proprietorship over to an LLC and then elected your LLC to be taxed as an S Corp. On that $100,000 of net profit, you're going to have to pay yourself a salary of that net profit, and the salary needs to be reasonable compensation. If you're curious about what reasonable compensation means and you want to just have a company determine this for you, we'll leave a link down below in the description to RCReports, and you can just do a report there with a bunch of data to back up what the market rate for your position is. It's a bit of a gray area for what the government determines as reasonable compensation for your specific position, so you definitely want to get some help with this. In a lot of cases, it's going to be a third of your net profit, but in a lot of cases, it's going to depend on how much you're making and in what industry you're in. So be sure to talk to your accountant about this or go to a company like RCReports to get a reasonable compensation report. So this is interesting because you're separating yourself from your business, but to pay yourself, you're going to have to be considered an employee of your business. So you're going to become a W-2 employee of your own business, and you're going to get paid a salary. So in this case, let's say you're going to get paid a W-2 salary of $35,000. That $35,000 you're paying does does count as self-employment. So you're going to be paying that 15.3% self-employment tax plus your federal taxes and any state income taxes on that $35,000. However, what's remaining of your net profit is considered your distribution. So that's going to be the $65,000 of profit that remains after you pay yourself that reasonable salary of $35,000. And the great thing about this is that $65,000 distribution is not subject to the 15.3% self-employment tax. Instead, you're only paying federal tax and any state income tax. So you don't have to pay that 15.3% self-employment tax on the $65,000. So in this case, you're going to be saving somewhere between $9,000 and $10,000 in tax savings. So now you can see exactly why it makes a lot of sense for people making a certain amount to go ahead and actually create the LLC and then elect to have it taxed as an S Corp. The added cost of payroll, additional forms, as well as having to get a registered agent service is going to be much, much less than the potential tax savings. So that's going to be the main difference between a sole proprietorship and an LLC. Like I said earlier, the tax savings between a sole proprietorship and just a base standard LLC, there is no difference in tax savings. You're going to pay the exact same taxes. However, what that LLC comes with is the flexibility to be taxed as an S Corp when you file Form 2553, which could save you a lot of money if you're making over a certain amount in net profit. So that is your biggest difference between the two. But there's also a difference between sole proprietorships and LLCs if you actually want to raise money for your business. As a sole proprietor, no one is going to want to give you money to invest into your business if that's what you're looking for. With LLCs, it's way easier to get investors on board and give you money. This can be both in terms of borrowing money and having to pay it back, as well as borrowing money in exchange for equity. Very few lenders or investors are going to want to give you money if you're a sole proprietor. But if you have a separate business entity, it is much more likely. So those are the biggest pros of switching over to an LLC from a sole proprietorship. But with all the switches, there are some cons to LLCs which could make it not worthwhile for you. First, there's more paperwork. So you'll need to get a registered agent, you'll need to file more forms, and you'll have to pay yourself a salary depending on if you're electing as an S Corp. LLCs also cost a lot more to form and maintain. With sole proprietorships, it literally costs $0 to form because it's just the default. You really don't have to do anything. With LLCs, however, there are formation fees and yearly maintenance fees. And these can vary from state to state. So for example, in California, the yearly minimum fee is $800 just to have an LLC, no matter how much money you make. And this just goes up as you make more and more money within your LLC. So yeah, if you guys are not making that much money with your business or side hustle, and you don't need to borrow any money from other people, then it might make sense for you to just keep it as a sole proprietorship until you hit some specific monetary goals. Now, on the other hand, if you don't want to get sued and have people come after your personal assets, then it's always wise to separate yourself from your business and create an LLC. In addition, if you're making over $40,000 or $50,000 in net profit, then it'll make sense for you to have your LLC taxed as an S Corp. So you can either elect to have your LLC taxed as an S Corp, or you can just switch over to an S Corp. So those are the main differences. Anyways, if you think it's time for you to switch over your sole proprietorship to an LLC or have your LLC taxed as an S Corp, we'll leave links down below in the description to all of the resources that we talked about in today's video, and they'll show you exactly how to set up your LLC as an S Corp. This is the exact process that I went through when I turned my sole proprietorship into an LLC and then an S Corp, and it's by far the easiest available. So yeah, we're going to leave those down below in the description. Be sure to check those out. I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, please leave us a like, subscribe, comment down below, and hit the notification bell for more videos like this in the future. This channel is dedicated to educating new and existing business owners on everything related to LLCs. We review the best platforms and tools out there to help your business set up, manage, and optimize your LLCs. So thank you so much for watching. We wish you the best on your entrepreneurship journey, and we will see you back again in the next video.